With the economy up, ISIS pummeled, criminals deported, 12 appellate judges confirmed, regulations slashed, and consumer confidence high, one would think that the president's poll numbers would be above 50. Well, they're not. Of course, the usual suspects in the media, those same people who erroneously relied on polls in 2016, they're eager to hype the bad Trump news.
Today, we have a president with sinking approval ratings, an unpopular piece of legislation, the tax bill, supported by just one party.
24% approval rating among women. I've never seen a number that low.
The president's approval rating has fallen to 35%. That's a new low in our CNN polling.
That is something that is a record low for every president dating back to Eisenhower.
Well, all things considered, it is better to be a popular president rather than an unpopular one. Remember when Bush's popularity began to take a nosedive in 2005 because of the Iraq War and his response to Hurricane Katrina? That was brutal. Well, back then, W dismissed the reports of his low standing with the public. He didn't fret much or do much about it. Then, you remember, the Democrats went on to win the House, the Senate, and 36 governorships across America. Then what happened 2 years later with the economy in tatters? Bush's numbers cratered, and Barack Obama was elected. Now back to Trump. He has a strong populist core, and so, of course, he wants to be popular. And he understandably gets frustrated when his message doesn't seem to be breaking through. And truth be told, the president has made some missteps. He's not perfect. And, of course, the media pounced on them. The bungled travel ban, the firing of Jim Comey, and the decision probably to get involved in that Alabama Senate race at all. And then, of course, Democrats have harped on the phony Russian collusion story for a year. And this all had a cumulative effect on the public psyche. But now, with the economy poised to roar in 2018, liberals and their lapdogs in the press need a fresh narrative. They have to freshen it up. And citing the Roy Moore loss in Alabama and Gillespie's in Virginia, the New York Times and other outlets are reporting that suburban women, even those who voted for Trump, are turning on him. Well, they're supposed to be, I guess, put off by his brashness, his bluntness, his tweet storms, and now, well, say the CNN Trump bashers, his lack of empathy.
It's about expressing normal human emotion. It's about expressing condolences. He doesn't do that first. First, he exploits it for political purposes.
This administration, writ large, is engaged in a larger game of trying to contain the president's worst impulses.
What I hear people say, even diehard Trump people, is we want humanity in this country.
You know what? No politician can win without empathy. He won anyway, even with numbers that suggested people saying, we don't think he understands people like us. Is it catching up with him now?
Yes.
I think the answer is right.
You can't learn empathy.
You can't learn empathy.
Well, I disagree with these clowns, and here's why. Maybe the president is sharing his empathy in a different way. And I'd argue that in his first year, President Trump has shown empathy for the people of this country in action, if not in words at all the times. Think about his deep feeling for the working people, the middle class, Americans of faith, and job creators, entrepreneurs. It's all evident in his policies. So if ridding the suburbs of MS-13, lowering taxes, and improving school choice isn't showing empathy for the middle class, then what is it? If the massive deregulation and trade policies that are spurring job creation and driving the economy isn't showing empathy for the worker, then what is it? And I'll say if driving black unemployment to an all-time low and laboring to get drugs off the streets isn't showing empathy to the African-American community, then what is it? To President Trump, I say the following. You've accomplished so much this year, but you're not going to ever get the press on your side. They're not going to give you credit. But I'll tell you this, more voters can and will be on your side with maybe just a few tweaks, a few modest changes. Perhaps the time has come to put aside a few of the Twitter battles. I like the tweets, but not all of them. And now it's time to humanize the agenda that you've been fighting for. You see, your predecessors, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, were masterful emoters in chief. They could turn on the tear machine and like that. They could bear hug at the drop of a hat. And while they were often all emotion, they were at the same time, often no action. I say it's possible to do both. You know, I was thinking today about that incredible event that you held, Mr. President, in August of 2016 with angel families who had lost loved ones at the hands of illegal aliens. It's an important reminder of how policy and empathy can align. And when you listen and teach, nobody does it better. And if that's not empathy, what is it? Then when Hurricane Harvey struck Houston and you visited the shelter housing flood victims, it was powerful. If that's not what empathy, what is? I like seeing you out among the people. I like seeing you with children, the elderly, factory workers, volunteers. You can be really charming, and you can be really warm in person. And it's time to let more Americans see that. My radio listeners today offered their own advice for what you should do before the midterms, and one suggested a twice-monthly fireside chat where you explain important policies to voters and introduce them to the people who will be impacted positively by those policies. I think it's a good idea, and it's great politics as well. And I also like the fact that you deliver your message directly in that scenario, with or without the media's coverage of it. I say it's now time to govern all the people, to take your agenda to the inner city, to suburbia, to the churches, and to the areas of the country that have been somewhat or really unreceptive to the populist conservative message. It's hard to be a national party, isn't it, when every presidential election cycle we write off California and New York right off the bat. And there's no reason the Democrats should have a monopoly on the coast. That's absurd. Just go and try there. Give it an effort. And at times, just your presence, just showing up and listening, can be the most powerful action of all. And I say, if that isn't empathy and a winning strategy, what is? And that's the angle.